All right, so joining us now is my partner for College Football Tailgate. Everybody knows that. My favorite co-host, Amber Wilson, 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN Radio. You could hear Amber.
You say that to all the co-hosts, by the way. You say that to all the co-hosts.
That's how I butter up all the girls who come on my show. That's right. I'm very, very charming. So you and I, on Monday, we're going to be in Atlanta. All right, College Football Tailgate. We're going to be an afternoon drive again. National Championship, Ohio State, Notre Dame. You've been to a national championship before for college football?
Of course. The Gators have played in some national championships. I haven't just been to national championships. I've been on the field for national championships as well. So yes, I have been there. I have been there as a fan. I've been there working as well. It's going to be a heck of an environment. I am super stoked.
I was surprised with the environment that we were at the Cotton Bowl last week, because I'd always heard that stadium, AT&T, it's not loud, doesn't get loud, it's too big. The place was so loud.
So loud. I've always heard that as well. I don't know. Maybe it's not as loud on the field as some other stadiums, because it depends how a stadium is built. Like in the Swamp for the Gators, it's so much louder on the field. Like you cannot hear yourself think on the field. But then if you're up in the stands and the higher up you go, the less loud it obviously gets because the sound goes down. I've heard the Big House is the opposite way, because the way that the sound is in the Big House, the way it's built, that it's not that loud on the field.
I didn't think the Big House was that loud. I was there for 2 games. I did not think it was that loud.
So I don't know if AT&T, like where the press boxes are, because it's unusual. The press boxes are not at the 50 in AT&T Stadium. They're still beautiful. Jerry still does a heck of a job, but he's not giving us that real estate as the media. And so I don't know if it's where the press boxes are that it's particularly loud, but I was surprised as well, because I'd also heard that same thing about AT&T, and it was hella loud. Also, maybe NFL games just aren't as loud as college. So I wonder if we've been hearing that from people that are just attending Cowboys games.
I've already told you, like, I'm a little bit embarrassed about it, all right? Because college football, I think college football is your favorite. Is it your favorite, college football?
Yeah. College football was my very favorite growing up. I mean, it was my first love. It was my whole thing. It's the whole reason I even went into sports as a business. Then throughout my adulthood, I got really into NFL because it is a superior form of football, but it's the fanfare around college football, the storylines around college football that I think are unmatched. So even though the football quality is better at the NFL, now I have an appreciation for both, basically, but it's a different level of appreciation.
I'm embarrassed that I didn't appreciate it the way that I do now until now. I mean, look, I don't know that I've said this before, but you and I had this conversation. They asked you about doing College Football Tailgate at the beginning of last year, maybe like around February or March-ish. And then you told me, hey, they're going to call you and they're going to offer you to do this gig with me. And you know, I'm pregnant, but that's neither here nor there. And so I'm like, okay, well, I'm definitely going to. So this is secret. All right. This is our little secret. And so I'm like, obviously I'm going to say yes, but I'm going to have to go through a crash course here because college football is not my strong suit. All right. And, you know, I figured it would take a couple weeks and it did, but I'm like embarrassed that I didn't realize how great college football is. You're right. The stories are unmatched. Like the NFL has nothing on all the storylines all across college football on a week-to-week basis. And just the games, I'm not trying to be cute with the SEC, but the games really do mean more. You know, if the worst team in the NFL, whoever it is, take it like the Titans, if the number one picks are the worst team, if the Titans in a regular season game this year, if they beat the Kansas City Chiefs, be like, all right, cool, on to the next one. If in college football, you know, like a lousy team beats the number one team in the country,
when Northern Illinois beats Notre Dame, it's like the end of the world.
If you're a Northern Illinois fan, you're remembering that game for the rest of your life. And the NFL doesn't have anything that matches that.
No, I mean, if you're a Northern Illinois fan right now, I would imagine that you are rooting very hard for Notre Dame to win this national championship, because forever you will be able to say that you beat that team during the regular season, that you beat the national champion during the regular season. There's nothing like that in the NFL. You're absolutely right. Like the Titans aren't walking around for the rest of the time saying, hey, we got one against the Chiefs in the regular season. They went on to win a Super Bowl. It's like, all right, who cares? Nobody even remembers that. And that's what's the beauty of college football. So the football product isn't always as good, although, I mean, it's still pretty great. But, the X's and O's and all that kind of stuff. But man, the fanfare, there's nothing that compares to it in our entire country. I mean, the only thing I think you can compare it to is European soccer, really, where it becomes your entire identity. And that's what college football is.
So Amber and I, we're going to be in Atlanta, afternoon drive on ESPN Radio, 3 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to be live right outside Mercedes-Benz Stadium. It's going to be great. It's going to be really fun. Atlanta's a great city. I'm looking forward to it. Now, everybody, when they see Amber Wilson is going to be on ZASLOW Show 2.0 today, we got to get Amber Wilson's thoughts, because you can't always give out the hot takes on your show on Jimmy Butler and the Heat.
I thought you were about to ask me for my hot takes on the game. I'm like, ZASLOW, we can't give out our predictions yet. Everyone knows. Everyone knows.
Of course.
When we give our predictions on College Tailgate. Also, by the way, you forgot to mention that we're also doing a digital show, our first ever digital show, a special show leading into the national championship game. So we're both really, really excited about that. So that'll be a really cool experience. That's on camera. That'll be a whole different thing for us, a different set, everything. So we're really stoked about
I'm going to have to
get tune in.
I'm going to get my makeup on. I'm going to get all dolled up for that. You're going to get makeup. You don't need the makeup. You're going to be okay. I'm going to get the makeup on. I'm going to get all dolled up and ready for the digital show. We're put them on camera. I got to make sure I look my best, Amber.
Who's doing your makeup? Because we're going straight from radio to TV, essentially, to on camera, like immediately. I don't even think that they're like, don't we get off air at 6 or something and we go straight to digital at 6, which I don't know how that's going to work because they're supposed to be kind of two different sets. I guess
I will have a makeup girl. There will be a makeup girl. I will hire a makeup girl to be there for me.
So what's funny is I actually did contact makeup people in Atlanta because I'm like, well, if I'm going to be on digital, I've got to get my makeup done by somebody. And I don't normally do that. But also, we're trying to make it last all day for me because it's got to. So I may have someone come to my hotel room that morning, do my makeup. I got prices for it. And so then I'll just be made up during the radio show and I can just roll straight over to digital and I would just have to touch it up. But I'm guessing that I would end up having to do your makeup because although most of the digital hosts, of course, get makeup from ESPN, those people aren't worried about us radio people. So
all right, well, you know
the
what?
Makeup team I could be wrong, but I don't think the makeup team schlepping over to us to doll us up while we're on radio.
You know what, Amber Wilson? You're hired. All right, you rub a little the stuff on my face,
powder.
So that I'm camera ready. You're hired. You're gonna be my makeup artist before we go on digital on Monday.
Like when I was hosting Sports Bang in Miami, I used to do Stu Gotz's makeup before every show.
Oh, I remember you sitting there at the host seat before they go on camera. You're doing your own makeup. You're sitting right there because I filled in a couple times. You were right next to me. I didn't know who you were, but we did the show together back then.
So offensive that you didn't know. How did you not know who I was?
Well, no, not that I didn't know who you were. Like I
was.
Yeah, like I'd heard of you. I knew who you were, Amber, but I didn't know you. We didn't know each other. That's what I mean. You didn't know me.
No, I had never met you. I knew, of course, of you. I knew who you were. I'd heard you on the radio a bunch of times.
And for people listening, for the old school ZASLOW and Amber listeners, Amber was a caller. Amber used to call in every now and then. All right. She would listen. Usually if we're talking about something with some legalese, and we're speaking very out of turn because we don't know where, even though I'm a lawyer, we don't really know what we're talking about sometimes. Amber would call it. She was a caller. She would call in several times and she would correct us based on what we're talking about. How about that?
Caller to this now. Look at me now. Caller to national radio host.
So you don't necessarily on Amber and Ian get to, talk free form about the Heat, Jimmy Butler, what's going on there. The latest yesterday, did you bring this up at all on your show last night?
He reiterated to Pat Riley that he wants a trade. And I can't, that to me isn't the big news because we already knew he wanted to trade. Like he didn't, like I'm glad he told Pat. He also told me. He told you. He told everybody watching right now, right? He told all of us that he wants to trade. Yes, we know Jimmy wants out of Miami. Yes, we know he wants to be traded because the Heat aren't giving him the extension that he wants. All right. I mean, really, what's the news there? It's up to the Heat if they're going to go ahead and do that. Do they want something back for Jimmy? He made it really clear, apparently, that he's not going to pick up his player option other than for the Heat to utilize it as a trade chip.
Right. I think that's the news. That's the news right there, is that he said he is going to pick up his player option, but he's doing it as a trade chip. So that therein lies the next game of chicken, which is the Heat are going to tell him, we want you to walk. We want to free up the cap space. And Jimmy's like, I'm not walking. I want my $52 million. You're going to have to trade me. That's the new game of chicken. I think that's where the news was yesterday.
And the Heat don't have, I mean, if we're being honest, the Heat don't have control. And normally I'm on the side of the team rather than the player. You and I have talked about this a lot. We're Heat fans, right? We're not just Jimmy Butler fans. We're fans of Jimmy B as long as he's on the Heat. When he's somewhere else, I'm, not going to be rooting for his team. And so I understand what Jimmy Butler's doing. He's a superstar in his mid-30s. He needs to try to get every dollar he can and maximize these last few years that he has in the league because his game is starting to decline some. And the reality is his availability sucks. And everybody around the league knows that. And that's not a Jimmy Butler problem. That's every superstar in the league over 30 years old problem. But it is, in fact, a Jimmy Butler problem as well. And so he has got to maximize his dollars. People around the league aren't going to want to help him do that, just like the Heat don't want to help him do that right now. So the hand he can play is he opts in, and it's really going to be his decision. Now, of course, the Heat could be like, all right, opt in, then you're playing for us next season. I mean, I guess that's the power that they have. But at the end of the day, I don't really, what's the point of any of that? Like at some point, we need to cut our losses. The dude has flexed all the power that a player can in the NBA at this point, absent sitting out. The Heat have tried to flex all their power. They're suspending him for conduct detrimental and this and that. It's just a situation that's getting uglier and uglier. And it feels like a measuring contest at some point of a certain male appendage. Right?
Everybody knows what you're saying. Penis measuring contest, of course.
Something's got to give, Zaslow. Something's got to give.
Everybody knows in a penis measuring contest, something has to give. On Friday night, he's going to make his return at home against Denver. Does he get booed?
I hope not. God, I hope not. This is a guy who's had us in 2 NBA finals here in the last 5 years. No, he should not get booed. Jimmy Butler has had a hell of a run in Miami. And you could argue, and I would imagine Jimmy would argue, that he's done all that without really the help around him to actually win a title, right? Like he hasn't always had the help around where Denver kept improving, where Boston kept improving, these teams that we were running into throughout our quest for a championship. The talent on the Heat, some of it was injuries, but the talent on the Heat at the end of the day just wasn't comparable. His team wasn't nearly as deep as that other guy's team. And so he ends up not being able to get the NBA titles, but damn, did he get us there. And I think you could argue that he exceeded expectations considering the position that sometimes he was put in. And that's not to say that it's like bad on the Heat, like Jimmy, like nobody's destined and mandated here by the universe to win NBA titles every season. Like that's not actually
the NBA player thinks it's his birthright to play on a championship team.
Yeah, like that's not actually a thing that you have to it's your birthright to be winning titles all the time, or that the team needs to put 4 other megastars around you so that you can go ahead and get it done. There's a lot, of course, of luck that goes into it as well with all of these teams. And not just luck I'm talking about through the playoffs, but luck in terms of talent evaluation, luck in terms of actually having the continuity, the relationship between the guys, because we've seen stars get thrown together and it doesn't work. And even these excellent teams out here where we are throwing stars together and they do maybe have more around them than Jimmy, they haven't necessarily always been out here winning championships either. And so he's gotten there. He's got a couple East titles. It's been a hell of a run for Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat. It's over. Something's got to give.
I think it's very possible he gets booed. I think it's very possible when
a
reason to boo a player would be said player does not want to play for you anymore and is also not trying in the games. Like those are reasons to boo a player.
That's when you boo, is when he's not trying, because that's obvious that he's not trying. And that I have an issue with, because you're still getting paid and you're still getting paid monster money. Like, all right, Jimmy, let's slow down. Like, stop acting like the Heat nickel and dimed you here. You're under a monster deal with them that they handed you, that nobody else in the NBA handed you. They have done right by you. The problem is that you want to be paid again moving forward, but we're not there yet. Right now, you're still playing under that contract where they did, in fact, pay you. And they didn't just pay you pennies. They paid you a bleep ton of money. So that's where it's frustrating if you can't show up and do your job as well as expected, because you're so bent out of shape about the, next year and the year after that and the year after that and the year after that, when now you're in your late 30s. The reality is Jimmy Butler, like every star in the NBA, wants to be paid for past performance. And if you're a smart front office, no matter what the dude's done for your franchise, and as much as it might hurt, whether it's Dwayne Wade, whether it's LeBron James, whether it's Shaq, any of these aging superstars that have done a lot for your franchise, if you're a smart front office, you do not pay for past performance. And that's what Jimmy's asking for. I don't blame him. Shoot your shot. But that's what he's asking for.
Now, Amber, the moment of truth here, as you've said it all about Jimmy Butler and about the national championship. Something that you also said at the end of last week, you put my business out there. You exposed me when we went out to dinner to get something to eat when we were in Arlington. And I've never heard anyone be critical of my dinner choice the way that you were critical of my dinner choice. Mm-hmm. And yesterday on ESPN Radio, I'm hosting with Joe Fortenbaugh, and Jeff Saturday was a very manly guy. All right.
Very manly.
Very manly. Former center in the NFL. He joined us. He crushed me. He crushed the idea that me, a male, is out there ordering filet when we're at the steakhouse. Amber, give this a listen.
If we want to get right to the heart of the matter here, Zaslow was in dinner in Arlington, Texas, before the Cotton Bowl. He orders a filet.
Yeah.
Amber Wilson tells him flat out, like, that's the most feminine steak order you can have. You're a big guy. You've enjoyed a steak. Where do you land on the filet?
Ribeye, bro. Ribeye or bone-in strip. Like, yeah, you cowboy. You filet? Are we joking, bro? Okay. I mean, are we counting calories as we're trying to crush the cow, or what? Like,
no,
those two don't go together. Those two don't go together. You might as well get a burger. Just get a burger. If you're gonna go with the filet, just get a burger, bro.
I mean, I didn't order the grilled chicken. All right, I got a lean cut that's juicy. It tastes good when it touches my lips. Like, come on.
Yeah. I know what you did. This is what you did. You ordered that. You got a side of Brussels sprouts that's drizzled with some balsamic, and then probably some asparagus. You skipped the potato, you skipped any starch, probably didn't have a dessert.
That is
true. Why? I mean, don't even go there. Like, just save your time, stay at home, or just get a burger. The steak place will give you a better burger than that. I mean, come on. You got to be better than that.
Amber, he crushed me.
He had you so pegged. He really did. That's what's so remarkable about it, because you did. You ordered a side of broccoli, nothing else. There was no starch. There was no potato whatsoever, and no dessert. 100%. And I think what's happening here is that you think fat makes you fat, which is not true. You've got to get into 2025. Fat is not what makes you fat now. We know that. So you're allowed to have the steak with a little fat on it if you want, which tends to give it more flavor. I understand why you don't want a tough steak that's hard to cut around, because some steaks are too fatty, but there's beefier steaks out there with more flavor than the filet. Funny conversation. You guys spent like the entire show on it, and most of the callers were crushing you, which tickled me.
I tried to impress him by saying, "Hey, but I had a bourbon. I was drinking bourbon with it."
He didn't believe you.
He did not believe me. He thought I had a daiquiri.
He was like a strawberry daiquiri and a filet. That was a hilarious thing. I did have Graziano on my show last night, and we asked him the same question.
Oh, yeah?
And I think unsurprisingly, Graz is in your camp. So your peers here are Graz, Joe Fortenbaugh, who's like notoriously, like in the makeup chair for 4 hours before he goes on air kind of thing. Right. And you, whereas against you are the Bobby Carpenters and Jeff Saturdays of the world.
Yeah.
I think if there's a barometer of manliness, I think I am leaning on the latter group a bit more.
Amber, you and I go out to dinner on Sunday when we get to Atlanta. I'm ordering the tomahawk and I'm eating it with my hands.
I'll take a picture of that.
Great job, Amber. Amber and Ian, 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio every night. Great job, Amber. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Zaslow.